my experience, my story helps the women that really need help. And I meet them where they are.
Hey, my Feel Good friends, and welcome to the Feel Good Social podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and as always, we have a wonderful guest to share with you today. Her name is KK, and she has been in the business world for a long time, and she is one of those beautiful, multi-passionate people and entrepreneurs, right? So today, I'm having an awesome conversation with KK about how she navigates the world of being kind of multi-passionate in her business. And we talk a lot about how she helps people turn their trauma into triumph and pain into positivity in this world, right? It's a really wonderful, enlightening conversation. I know you're going to love KK just as much as I do. So without further ado, let's dive into this wonderful conversation with this awesome woman. Hey, friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. On this show, we chat about social media strategy and mindset tips with a focus on, you guessed it, feeling good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Do you know what your brand vibe is on Instagram? I have a new fun quiz that's just for you, my friend. I, of all people, know how hard it is to figure out how the heck you're supposed to translate your brand to the gram. And with this quick 7-question quiz, we will help you hone in on your brand's personality, voice, and visuals so that you can show up consistently and create content that looks beautiful and feels on brand for you. This quiz is so awesome. It's been a long time coming, and I know that you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Plus, the results will help you show up in the best way for you. If you'd like to check out our new brand vibe quiz, just head to feelgoodsocial.com/quiz. Pretty easy. Head to feelgoodsocial.com/quiz to find out what your brand's vibe is on social media and start showing up there for your brand. Hi, KK. Thank you so much for coming on the Feel Good Social podcast, lady. I'm so excited to bring you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, I did already introduce you just a little bit in the intro, but I'd love to hear from you. Who are you? What do you do? And who do you serve?
So my name is KK Smith. I am a life and business coach, and I have been an entrepreneur for, almost 3 decades. And I have a podcast called the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop podcast. It's all about turning pain into power and trauma into triumph. And I just absolutely love helping people get back up again and really reclaim their lives. That's who I am. I'm also an author and a mom and all the things.
I love it so much. And yeah, you guys, I met KK and we had just like such a fun conversation for like 45 minutes or something. We chatted for a while and it was so great to get to know you. I always like to start off these conversations by kind of asking like, how did you get started doing what you're doing now, right? I know you've had a few transitions. Like what prompted you to really start a podcast for moms, and what has your business journey looked like so far?
Well, my podcast journey was because of my own personal story with my mom. So I met my mom somewhere around 17. My dad raised me. It's a long story. It's in my book. But my mom had a lot of trauma, and her sisters also had a lot of trauma. But I can remember visiting my mom. And when I was a little girl, I can remember her sisters and her just sitting around and just crying and talking about their lives, and they were gospel singers. And I always wondered, how could they go out and sing gospel and come back home and be so sad and so depressed and just talk about the things that they couldn't change. And so it is really, my mom passed away in 2019, and we opened a nonprofit in her name. But I also wanted to explore the trials of life and how we all get tied up. No matter what's going on around us, we get tied up on the inside with our trauma, with our pain. So that's really why I started the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop. And dads come on there, thought leaders, experts on how do we turn our pain into power and our trauma into triumph.
Yeah. Ooh, and I love that. Turning pain into power, trauma into triumph. Guys, we were chuckling before I hit record because it's a little bit early here for me. Normally my brain doesn't start working before 9 a.m. So we'll see when the coffee kicks in. But I love that so much. I think it's so, so powerful. And especially for mothers to hear that, who are on the cusp of like, possibly, I feel like a lot of people in our generation like grew up feeling, pushing things under the rug and not really understanding how to navigate traumatic experiences, or even realizing that like experiences are traumatic. And then, now their mothers are on the cusp of also raising children and healing themselves. So I just love that message. It's giving me goosebumps right now, honestly. Yeah. But where is your journey taking you now that you've like started the podcast? What does your business look like today?
So I have a brick and mortar business. So I have a salon, but I also have a business called Reinvention Solutions. And it's where I help people turn their pain into power and trauma into triumph and launch into the digital age, because that's such a pain point for a lot of people. And I experienced my own pain points when I had to launch from a brick and mortar model into an online model. And so there were so many things that I had to really overcome. So I do workshops. I am a keynote speaker. I do all types of engagements for youth development as well, even though the youth are very, very crafted in technology, but I do life coaching and life skill sets for youth development as well, and women groups.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you were kind of like crossing multi-generations with your business, and you're multifaceted, you're multi-passionate, right? Like your business seems to kind of incorporate a lot of different things. And my audience resonates with that so much. I know this because we have a lot of people out there who like to do a lot of different things and whatnot, but especially too, I love that you're helping people transition from kind of brick and mortar, in-person things into the digital age, because that's been a huge pain point for so many of us. So what have been some of those bigger, more helpful things that you've learned in that process for yourself?
Well, one of the things that I've learned during the process is to always stay current. In the hair industry, I used to always do everything I could to stay above. Not only was I a single mom and I was really struggling back then and I really needed additional income, but I realized how pivoting into new things could really make a huge difference in your business and your life. And so I would tell people to constantly develop self-development, wellness, especially from the inside. We have to change our mindsets as entrepreneurs, because this journey is not all glitz and glamour. I can remember sitting at work sometimes counting the squares on the floor because I didn't have any clients. And I would work with people that had a huge clientele, and they were so successful because they were years beyond me with their development. But once I learned the key of constantly developing, everything has changed for me in my brick and mortar business, as well as my online business, or whatever I'm working on in that season. So if I'm working on learning a new process or something new, I don't look at it like, oh gosh, I got to learn this. I look at it like, okay, I'm investing my time in my business and I'm opening my mind, and that's going to propel my business basically.
Yes. I know, it is so funny. Like so many of us focus on like the technical skills and learning all of the strategies and all the different stuff, but like the difference that just like learning those things with the right mindset, which starts with mindset development, right? Like it just makes all the difference in how you approach things, your ability to like maybe learn, your enthusiasm about it. Like I love that so much. So how have you navigated being kind of like a multi-passionate person? Maybe I've like labeled you that, but it does seem like you're interested in a few different things. You have a few different avenues of your business and stuff. Like, I know a lot of my audience does like struggle. They're like, okay, how do I make all of my different passions fit together? Like, what does that look like for you, honey?
Well, that has not been easy. That part has not been easy because there's so many parts to me. So if you go down my timeline, you will see that I have changed my colors about 3 times. I also wanted to come from an authentic place because I have so much wisdom to share in my personal journey. And that's why I love the name of this podcast, your show, is because you have to feel good about it. You really have to feel good about your journey and your authenticity. And a lot of times when you first come out the gate in any business or any brand, sure, you have to know the product, the processes, for me, the hairstyles, but how do you separate yourself and be authentic to your brand? I can remember a coach telling me so specifically, I need to do this like this, do this like this, do this like this. Well, when I looked up, I was almost a clone because she told me to do exactly like this. And I just threw all of that away because I wanted to be authentic to myself. And that has been the hard part because I have so many experiences that I want to bring in from my view. And, you know, when you're searching for your avatar, your customer, the person that you really want to serve, you have to really come at it from an authentic place, because if not, you'll have so many people that has nothing to do with your experience, your journey, especially if you're in a coaching space or if you're in the space of development and developing things specifically for that person. You have to really have authenticity. You have to start with authenticity. So I'm weaving all of this together to come out with something authentic for my audience.
Oh, I love it. You're speaking to my soul, lady. And that too, yeah, like that has been such a huge part of my journey in business as well, for sure. Like starting out, trying to do the cookie cutter things, and that's what all of us do, you know, is like we come into this online business space and we look at everyone else, we're like, how do we do this? You know, and then it's kind of coming back to realizing, okay, I'm seeing what everyone else is doing, but how does that look for me? And like, how can I make this business work for me? How can I show up online in a way that is me and not trying to fit into a mold or anything like that? I also think that I needed to hear that this morning too, because you know how we learn things and then we kind of get ideas and veer off track and stuff. So I feel like this conversation was meant to happen. But I love it so, so much. And I do think it's like, it is one of those things that's hard for people sometimes. I love how you do bring like the trauma and like embracing all of yourself, and then maybe figuring out how does this look like for my life, and also what does this look like for my business, you know? Because I do think that sometimes it's hard for people to realize like, I'm enough and I'm okay. And like, this can fit into a part of me. This is actually makes me special. I'd love to talk to you about like kind of that part of it. And how do you help women kind of like overcome their trauma, turn their trauma into triumph, as you say, and all that?
So I help women to get back up again. I am a certified life coach in emotional intelligence and also communication. And my degree is also in mass communication. And I have worked with women and men, you know, my whole career. So I have case study data on, you know, helping people from an authentic place. And what I like about the business model is that, you know, if I'm looking at your business or someone else's business, my experience, my story helps the women that really need help. And I meet them where they are because I've had so much trauma in my own life. As a child, I had so much trauma in every area. And so I realized that a lot of times that trauma keeps us stuck. It keeps us at the same level. And especially when we show up in business and authentic business, the imposter syndrome comes in. And the imposter syndrome says, well, why are you here? You don't need to be here. You're trying to do something that, you know, all of these business greats are doing. And the trauma is weaved in and out of your life and your business. And so I had to come from an authentic place because I would be covering up so much of me that could help someone else. So I realized that it's not only about having a business and having this cookie cutter and, oh, check. branding this, doing this, but you have to have authenticity. You have to start with that.
Yes, 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 lady. And again, this is just like speaking to myself because I totally went through that as well. Like, when I was 25, my father did something traumatic that ended up, he's in prison now and stuff. And it was one of those really crazy times for me where I didn't know how to handle it. Right. And then, 3 years later, I started my business, but I really had not dealt with that whatsoever or like talked to anyone about it or anything like that. And a year into my business, I remember like being on a call with my business coach and just like breaking down because I was like, I feel like this is holding me back in my business somehow, even though it has nothing to do with my business, right? But it's exactly what you said. It wasn't making me feel like I could show up as like my authentic self. Like somewhere in that traumatic journey, I kind of felt like it was affecting me and I had somewhat lost my ability to show up just as my true, genuine self, right? And then I was on that call with my business coach and she was like, Kinsey, you need to invest in help, right? And I was like, well, but Michelle, I'm investing in my business right now. I'm investing in business help. She's like, Kinsey, this is a business decision, right? That like has stuck with me forever because it was one of those realizations where I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like investing in my mindset, investing in therapy is a life decision and a business decision because it all affects each other. So I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Real quick, have I invited you to join the Feel Good Social Club yet? Oh man, my friend, I would love for you to check out our new monthly membership for down-to-earth entrepreneurs who are ready to create content with ease, actually show up and strategically market your business online every month, and also make friends with rad down-to-earth entrepreneurs who are just like you, who get it, who are in the posting trenches with you, and who are ever ready to give you a friendly air high five or kick in the accountability booty whenever you need it. The Feel Good Social Club is where it is at. Check it out, feelgoodsocial.com/club. In the club, we have a content library full of Canva templates and tutorials and resources to help you make content creation as easy as possible. We also have monthly content planning workshops where we all come together and talk about the upcoming month's strategy for our content. And we also have community forums where you can get together, ask questions of other club members, brainstorm ideas, ask for feedback. So definitely check it out, feelgoodsocial.com/club. Our Feel Good members are seriously some of the most amazing people that I have ever met. And I would love for you to join us, feelgoodsocial.com/club. Check it out. Join today. We would love to see you in there, my friend. All right, let's dive back into today's episode.
If you think that anyone out there who's listening is like, okay, I hear you, like maybe I do have something in my past that's like holding me back in my business, like where do you suggest that they might start when it comes to working through this and getting help and turning pain into power, as you say?
I would say to start with, look deep within yourself and see what exactly is holding you back and really be authentic with yourself, because you'll find that a lot of times you haven't done this exercise. You don't know what it is. You don't know what's holding you back. It could be something way back in your past. It could be something that you're afraid to somebody might find out. It could be as simple as that. It might be something that you're not really prepared for, but you're trying to start this business. You need to do more development. You need to get more help in that area, because it's nothing worse than, especially if you're trying to teach someone to do something, if you haven't done it yourself. And you are the imposter because you feel like they're going to find me out. They're going to find me out. Well, you need to go and figure that out and get help and get development and get classes or whatever you have to do. Don't show up without your foundation. And I see that happening so much on social media. People, you'll follow them down the rabbit hole and you're like, wait a minute. Do I know more than you know about this subject that you're saying you're the expert on? So you really have to get development. And if you find out that that's not something that you can master, maybe it's something in your life that you've already mastered. And that way you could show up with confidence and not show up with the imposter syndrome.
Oh, okay. I see what you're meaning. Yeah. So maybe turning our past talents like through life into
Yeah.
how we show up and help people.
Right. Because I feel like if you're working through something, I have a rule that I share when I coach people and with my clients in person. If if I'm over it, I can share it with you, no matter what it is. It might be painful, but if it's going to help you, I'm going to pull you through that with what I've already done and mastered or conquered in my life. If I'm at a point where I haven't worked through this situation and I'm not ready to share that, then I'm not going to share it. The same thing goes true in business. If you have not mastered a service, don't offer that service. If you can't give that client the ultimate experience, don't offer that service. You know what I'm saying? And that way you won't feel like the imposters at all because you've mastered it.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Which is interesting too, because I think that there's definitely sometimes a thought in the business world that like, I've heard this before, you only have to be 10% better than the clients that you work with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Even if there are people so we think about the 100%, you could start with the 5%. You know more than the person from the 1%, but don't start with 0%. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So we don't necessarily have to be a master. It's just it's just better though, like still have the experience.
To be a genius, but you have to master something in order to teach somebody else something. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just say I was teaching someone how to color hair. Okay. Well, I'm not the best colorist in the world. I'm not the genius in London, who has $1,000 per client. I'm not him, but I understand how to balayage. I have mastered it. I have done that. I have gotten paid. I have gotten feedback that my client loved it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to go out there with, I have never touched a brush. I have never touched a developer. I have never touched, and I'm trying to say, come on, I can show you how to do this. And I'm just, you know what I'm saying? So as long as you're 5 to 10 steps ahead, yes, that's what I would say in business. And that goes back with my own business. Like, there are things that I teach, but I'm not the genius that's getting, $100 million a year, but I have mastered some form of it in my business.
Gotcha. I feel like though sometimes like, do you help shift people's mindset then to like help them realize, okay, yes, like I do know that, because I feel like sometimes the imposter syndrome does pop up with a lot of people where it's like they don't believe in the skills that they have, even though they do have them. You know what I mean?
Right. A lot of times we have skills that are lying dormant in us. And like I said earlier, we're trying to start with the skills that everyone else is doing. Be a business coach, make $100 million a year. And you jump on these calls or you jump on that webinar and you're like, oh, that's a good idea. But you're leaving yourself out. All the things that you know how to do, all the things that you've learned, that you've mastered, because they're mastered and they're visible. You figure, okay, I need to do this, but you don't know what they did to get on your timeline. You don't even know if that's the business model that's best for you. So I understand people have to feel confident in their skill set, but I also feel like you have to know what you're developing, and you have to know what you've mastered. You know what I'm saying? So even if you master something, you learn it for a month, right? And you say, I'm going to teach this. Well, you've mastered it. You understand it. You understand those processes. You understand what it takes to get from this point to that point. And you can feel good about it. Just like your podcast, you can really feel good. You won't feel like, if they ask me this question, what am I going to say? Hold on, let me look that up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So there are times when you could work through things. Like for me, I used to offer discount services on finger waves, right? Well, I wanted to master my finger waves, but I couldn't charge what my coworker was charging because she was a finger wave master. But I was working on it and my clients understood that. And that's another thing, to be transparent. When you're in entrepreneurship, be transparent in what you can do and what you can't do. I had 2 major surprises last year with 2 entrepreneurs that told me they could deliver a service. One of them totally botched up a service, and the other one totally ruined an event because they weren't who they said they were. They were totally different. If I was looking for an expert, they were not even a master. They were not even at level 1, but they advertised themselves like they were. I lost money. Family members came in town for an event. The event wasn't ready. We didn't even have any silverware because this person told me that she had mastered that and she didn't. So I will always stand on the hill of development and be ready and master yourself in that service before you bring that out into the world. Because you could be hurting so many people if you're not ready.
Right, for sure. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because I think that, it's one of those things that we do need to talk about, especially as like entrepreneurs, no matter where you're at in your journey. It's like, and I totally believe in, I think that sometimes it takes like practice and experience to gain the mastery and gain the skills and stuff. But then I love what you said about the transparency as well, because that's always the thing, right, guys? It's like, and it does go hand in hand with imposter syndrome. And I think that, yeah, you're right. The way that we can somewhat combat imposter syndrome is by being transparent about where we're at in the journey, right? Like my first social media client knew very well that I had never professionally done social media for anyone, and then slowly working our way up. And there's nothing to feel bad about as long as you are very transparent and open, and there's a great communication there about all of that stuff.
Right. And I think that it takes so much pressure off of you. Like the young lady that I hired for an event, I paid her a pretty decent amount, and she could have discounted the service and said, okay, well, this won't be ready. This won't be ready. This won't be ready. So in a laundry list of, let's just say there were 25 outcomes that she needed to bring to us, the silverware, the tablecloth, I will tell you at least 20 of those things were missing. So if you don't have the capacity to bring a service to a client, do not promise that. Even if you need an income, I will say go get a job and then develop your business on the side. A lot of people have done that. People have come through my salon and they've had jobs while they're working on their craft. They have had family members, friends. Okay, can I try this haircut on you? I haven't mastered it yet, so I can't really put it out there in the market, but let me try it on you, and mess up your family or your friends. But don't go in there and say, I'm an expert. Look at me. No, don't do that, because that has been my experience in business. And early on in business, I can remember my own faux pas and big mess up where this lady wanted a jerry curl, and she came in for a jerry curl, and it was so ugly when I finished it. And she said, I went to the doctor's office and everybody had a jerry curl and it was so pretty. And my hair, it looks so stringy and it just don't look good. And I'm like, oh, so sad. And I knew I couldn't perform that, but I was so inexperienced and young, and I wasn't as forward thinking as I am now and grounded, and I needed an income. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I can do it in my mind, but I knew I couldn't. I knew it would turn out ugly. I was just praying this time it wouldn't. And so I reached in my pocket and I gave her back her money. I gave her back the complete, and I apologized because I was not ready to do that. And so there's a business model where, okay, I could deliver you the 5%, but I'm not promising you the 100%. And there are clients for that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes. And thank you for sharing that mess up story as well, because we all got them for sure.
Yeah,
And so it's one of those things. It's like, but learn, from the mistakes, learn from the mess ups, listen to conversations like these, and maybe think about it. I love that you've started this conversation. It's really interesting for me to think about, because there is definitely a regular conversation that's happening in the business world where like a lot of people are saying, show up, like charge what you're worth, and sometimes that can be a little overboard and stuff. So I'm glad that you shared this. We do have to hop off. Unfortunately, guys, we're on a time crunch here, but I'm so glad that I got to bring you on the podcast. KK, can you please share with everyone how they can connect with you and find you and learn more about you? Because I know they'll want to do that.
Okay, you can reach me at kksmith.com, KAYKAY.com. You can also reach me at the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop podcast on Apple, anywhere you're listening to podcasts. And you can also email me at kksmithmedia, 2Ks, if you are interested in workshops, facilitation, keynote speaking engagements, and more.
Awesome. Yes. And we will link things in the show notes as well. So to make it easier for everyone. But thank you once again. This was a great conversation, honey.
Thank you for having me, Kinsey.
How great was KK, you guys? I really loved chatting with her, and I feel like she really dropped a lot of knowledge nuggets for all of us to ponder and think about how we approach our businesses and the world, and how we can feel good about what we are doing in our businesses, right? So if you enjoyed this conversation, please reach out to both of us. I'm at Feel Good Social on Instagram. She is at KK Smith Media. I've linked both of those below. So make sure that you connect with us, send us a message, because we would truly love to chat with you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will catch you next time I catch you. Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.